Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you're well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too, and let's crack on with today's first story. Much love guys. Now today's first story comes from Boyfriend Wedding Help from the Am I Overreacting subreddit and says, am I overreacting? For wanting my boyfriend to back out of a destination wedding he's been the best man for, because I was uninvited from the wedding. My boyfriend, 35 male, is the best man for his best friend's wedding in a few months. I, 31 female, was originally invited to the wedding as his plus one as well. The wedding is a destination wedding at an extremely expensive resort. All flights and hotels for both of us have been booked and paid for already. I've met the bride and groom to be a handful of times. I've always been friendly with them and was invited to attend their joint bachelor/et trip as my boyfriend's plus one. I attended the weekend trip and had a great time getting to know everyone that will be at the wedding and was really looking forward to seeing everyone again at the wedding. I never felt any sort of animosity and came out of the wedding thinking everyone had a great time partying with each other. Turns out the bride felt some type of way about me and has uninvited me from the wedding. I've not had any conversations with the bride or groom, but my boyfriend received the news from the groom. From what I heard of the conversation, it seems like the groom doesn't agree with his fiancée and was really uncomfortable to deliver the message, but his hands were tied. My boyfriend has received details on what happened to make the bride feel that way towards me, and we both agree that it's a ridiculous overreaction and a huge misunderstanding. Long story short, the bride felt as if I didn't make an effort to make her feel special and was trying to take her spotlight. My boyfriend contacted the other friends who were there that weekend as well, and everyone is in agreement that this is an overreaction and misunderstanding. The thing that bothers me the most is that everything that was listed out that I was doing to make her feel that way, everybody else was doing it as well. But yet it seems like there was a magnifying glass on me, and she has a vendetta against me for some reason. My boyfriend thinks it was a series of unfortunate events that started at a house party a few months ago, when I beat her in Mario Kart and everyone was cheering for me. Oh bloody hell, Mario Kart, either creating friendships or destroying them completely. Hope he obviously didn't say that, but I voiced to my boyfriend that I'm more than willing to have a conversation with the bride to clear the misunderstanding, to try and get her to change her mind. But at the same time, I'm not really sure I want to go to this wedding anymore anyways, as I would hate to be somewhere I'm not wanted. My reasoning for going would be more so to support my boyfriend and enjoy the vacation with him. That being said, I shared with my boyfriend that if the decision stays and I'm uninvited, I'd be upset if he still decided to go without me. I may feel differently if 1, it wasn't an expensive destination wedding that takes away valuable vacation days he doesn't have a lot of, or 2, we were in agreement that my actions justified this decision in any way. For me, him attending without me feels like he's agreeing with the decision and is choosing to stick by his friend over sticking up for me. Am I overreacting for wanting my boyfriend to back out? Hope he adds an edit and says, wow, this got way more traction than I ever imagined it would. Thank you for all the time taken to share your thoughts and insights. It's been really helpful for me to read through and help process my emotions. This was all super fresh news when I wrote this out this morning, and I've had some time to process. I think my next step will be to reach out to the bride to have a talk with her and see exactly from her perspective what went wrong that led her to ultimately make the decision to uninvite me. It's been a game of telephone so far, so it would be helpful to hear it from the source. I plan on apologizing to her during this conversation because even though it may seem like an overreaction and misunderstanding to me and others, what she felt was obviously real and real enough for her to make this decision. My hope from this conversation is that we can at least be cordial moving forward and be friendly for the sake of our men, even if we won't ever be true friends. We'll post another update once we've had the talk. Thanks again, Reddit. I hope he adds another edit on that post and says, I've had another night to think about the situation. Reading through this thread and it's really split 50-50. Seeing the different angles of everyone's insight has been super helpful. I'm going to talk to my boyfriend tonight and mention that while my feelings of being upset are valid, it's not on me to dictate whether he should go to the wedding or not. I'm understanding of the situation and realize that he should be there to support his best friend through this important life moment. He's made it very clear to me as well that he'd be attending to support his friend specifically. I do agree with most of the comments here telling me that I should just go on the vacation with my boyfriend and have him minimize his time with wedding duties to the necessities only. I'll bring up this option with him, and hopefully we're able to come to an agreeable compromise that leaves us both feeling heard and understood. Opie adds another edit and says, I told my boyfriend that I planned to reach out to the bride to hear her side of the story, and apologize for any wrongdoings on my part. But he told me that he doesn't think it's the right time right now, as the groom has been going to bat for us and bride has been crying a lot. So I'd like the dust to settle. I guess at this point I'm kind of at a standstill and waiting for a final decision to be made by the bride/groom. The wedding isn't for another few months, so we have some time to hopefully settle this, be on good terms, and maybe even look back and laugh at how ridiculous this all was one day. This will probably be my last update for a while, until there is an actual update to give. Once again, thank you to everyone who took the time to give your insight and share your wisdom. I was pretty 50-50 about my thoughts, and seems like the internet is too. Hearing both sides has definitely been helpful for my thought process. Now for me, look, I get having direct conversations can be scary, because you never know how someone's going to react. You never know what they're going to say when you say something to them, but I think this whole telephone game, and it's pretty exhausting, like hearing the story through different people and it's getting passed, it just makes it more dramatic than it needs to be. And letting the dust settle on this is just more avoiding in the end. It's just like you're just sitting there thinking, so what's going to happen next? And I really want Opie to do it just to find out what the bloody hell's going on, because this ain't really about Mario Kart, surely. Maybe it is. Commenter says, just go and don't go to the wedding. Opie says we've discussed this option as well, but since he's the best man, he would be preoccupied with wedding stuff, welcome party, rehearsal, the actual wedding and ceremony and reception. I'd be alone most of the time. Commenter says this is tough, but I agree with you. Him still going would make me feel weird. I get it's not who he's showing up for, the groom. Make the decision, but still. How did your boyfriend react when you said you'd be upset if he still went? Has any money already been spent on your or his end to attend? Opie says my boyfriend has paid for both of our flights and hotel bookings already. The groom has said that he would pay him back for my portion as he feels bad about the whole thing. He felt that it was unfair for me to be put in an impossible position to pick between me or his best friend. From my perspective though, I'm not asking him to not be friends with his best friend. I just don't want him going to the wedding if I'm not invited. As much as I get why the groom has to take his fiance's side, I think the groom should understand why my boyfriend would decide not to go if I'm not invited. Someone asks how long Opie and boyfriend has been dating. Opie says we've been dating for 8 months and are living together. I know we haven't been dating an extremely long time in a traditional sense, but we're not adolescents and have every intent of marrying each other in the near future. Families have met, etc. Another commenter says, tell us what you did or what she thinks you did so we can make a better call. Opie says 1, the girls, 10 of us, went out to dinner together and were seated at a long table. I was having a conversation with the girls on my side of the table. I was in the corner and the bride was sitting on the other side of the table. She felt as if I wasn't including her in the conversation. My boyfriend spoke with the other girls who were at the dinner, and everyone who was on my side of the table felt like the dinner went well and there was nothing to note. 2, we were all singing karaoke. Everyone was taking turns putting in songs. The bride just finished singing a song, so I went to put another song in. She was upset about that because I guess everyone was chanting for her to sing another song, but I was unaware she wanted to sing 2 songs in a row. For the past hour, we've all been taking turns putting in songs. 3, apparently, I wasn't trying to get to know all of the girls. To this, I can say that I spent more time with some girls than other girls, just because of the activities we were doing. Some girls weren't drinking, so they were sticking together and hanging out. Some girls were drinking, myself included, so naturally we hung together and hung out. Another commenter says you need to talk to your boyfriend. Since you're all serious, this decision of the bride-to-be could have long-lasting consequences. You'll need to come up with a plan together and alert the groom and bride. The groom also needs to know the potential long-term consequences. How often do they hang out? Double dates? What about y'all's wedding? Opie says we've talked about this too. The wedding itself is just one weekend, but we're definitely more upset at the future consequences that a current decision would cause. My boyfriend and I were always aligned on wanting our kids to grow up near our friends' kids in one neighborhood. My friends are scattered all over the US, but most of his friends are in our area, so I was really making an effort to try and integrate myself with his friend group so we could have that kind of future. But this whole situation is making me want to live far away from them. Someone questions if Opie and her boyfriend were already married. Would he still go to the wedding? Opie replied saying, he said if we were married, he would back out. Another commenter says people don't usually invite guests and give them a +1, only then to basically interview, evaluate and judge whether the +1 is worthy of attending. Pass judgment and rescind the +1 but allow the original guest to attend. That's terrible wedding etiquette. And if they plan on continuing the friendship with your boyfriend, the best man, how do they think that's going to go? No double dates, trips or events with all four of you together. Will you not be deemed worthy to attend anything in the presence of Her Majesty? And what if you and your boyfriend eventually marry? Your boyfriend may want current groom to be best man, and will she expect to be invited? Lol. These people are shallow and don't realize there's life after the wedding. It's literally the smallest of events in a marriage. They are not seeing the big picture. It's extraordinarily rude to rescind an invite in this way, and I would assume you and your boyfriend will have to deal with the emotional fallout if he chooses to attend. Maybe your relationship won't last much longer afterwards, but maybe that's what the bride wants. She's playing anti-Cupid. Opie replied saying we all agree that she's being really immature about this whole thing and have not taken into the considerations of all the consequences that will come from this. I would have at least appreciated if she spoke to me about her feelings first before coming to such an explosive decision. Someone asks how old is the bride. Opie says she is a bit younger than the rest of us. I think she's 26 or 27. Boyfriend said she's always been the baby of the group. Someone asked why Opie's boyfriend is the one who paid for the entire trip when they have only been together for 8 months. Opie says, when he was a +1 at my best friend's wedding, I paid for our accommodations as he was my guest. This time I'm his guest, so it made sense for him to pay. So it was a couple of days later that Opie came in with another update and said, this is a continuation of my previous post as that post is now locked. A few amendments to my previous post in comments. Turns out I actually paid for the flights. It's been so long since we booked, I forgot. The resort is technically refundable since you don't pay until you get there. The groomer said he would pair up my boyfriend with another guest that's coming alone as the rooms are priced per 2 occupants. I told my boyfriend that while it's valid for me to be upset about the situation, it's not valid for me to dictate whether you should go to this wedding or not. I understand the tough spot you're in and I don't want to make it more difficult than it already is for you. Whatever the final decision bride and groom come to is, you should go to support groom. If the decision stays that they don't want me at the wedding, maybe we can still go to the resort together and I'll just enjoy some solo spa time while you're doing wedding stuff. That way we can still have some time together and you can fulfill your best man duties. He was very against this idea, saying that this would most definitely cause a lot of drama and alienate me further from the group. I said that he knows his friend group better than me, and if he feels like this would cause more stress for him, I'll bow out. I mentioned that if he doesn't want me staying at the same resort, I could go to a different resort in that area, so at least the flights aren't wasted. He was against this idea as well and said I should just stay home or go to a different destination completely. I have no reason to think that my boyfriend is being unfaithful as some of the comments in my previous post have mentioned. This just seems to be a point that we don't align on. He wants to make it as drama-free for the bride and groom on their wedding weekend by prioritizing their comfort and needs over mine. I want to be the understanding girlfriend so badly, but man am I torn between feeling neglected as the girlfriend versus trying to let it go and not die on this hill. Am I overreacting? Commenter says to this, something else is going on behind what you're being told, or your boyfriend and that friend group are insane. Maybe both. Opie says, yeah, it's really frustrating to be the topic of discussion and not being allowed in on the discussion. Feels like I'm in a hole with everyone throwing shade at me and I can't even be there to speak up for myself. I'm just hearing everything through my boyfriend, and it's still a big game of telephone. Commenter says, how important is this friends group? Your boyfriend is assuming they'll all be upset, but will they? They know you had tickets in the resort booked until you were uninvited just 2 weeks before. Boyfriend has wedding duties, fine. You shouldn't lose out on a trip altogether to spa since time off work's scheduled off. Don't post on social media. Don't blow up boyfriend's cell with calls or texts. and go sunbathe. Geez, they don't own the sun. Opie says they are very important people to my boyfriend. I recognize how important it is to have a solid friend group around you, and I wouldn't want to do anything to jeopardize his relationship with his. He says that me going will be a statement enough for them to see me as vindictive. Another commenter says he is being very unreasonable, and I'd be sus about it. Seems like your boyfriend wants some time alone with that person the groom said he would pair your boyfriend with. Maybe that someone is the bride's friends and wants to play matchmaker. I think you should go to the resort still. It won't make any drama, and it shouldn't. Opie says I asked who he'd be paired up with, and they're both guys that I know. I have no reason to suspect that he'd be doing anything sus if he's there alone, so I'd rather not spiral down that road. I thought going to the resort and doing my own thing was a great compromise as suggested by many others. But he wholeheartedly disagrees. Even going to the same country at a different resort would apparently cause issues. Another commenter says, ultimately, only you can answer the question of, am I okay with this? If you are feeling torn between wanting to be understanding but also feeling like everyone is being taken care of but you, maybe it's good to express this. Also, do you have any best girlfriends? Because you should take that plane ticket refund and go do a trip with friends. Get out, don't stay at home, go see parents, etc. Better to go have some fun than mope. Opie says this is a great idea. It's one of my best friend's birthday that weekend and I wasn't able to do anything with her due to this wedding. It would be a great excuse to take a girls trip together instead. Another commenter says, right now everything you're being told comes from your boyfriend. I'm not saying he's lying, but he's certainly going all out not to have you speak to anyone else in the friendship group or wedding party, isn't he? Why is that, I wonder? You're perfectly within your rights to reach out to the bride to find out exactly what's going on, in a totally non-accusatory way of course, and to see if you can both smooth things over with her. The cynic in me wonders if your boyfriend is engineering this so you don't get to go. Although I sincerely hope I'm wrong. You don't need his permission to speak to the bride, and it could at least clear the air prior to the wedding because as it stands now, you'd never be able to be around these people again without there being some kind of animosity. And if they're all that important to him, how long will your relationship last when you can't be a part of the social group? Opie says I know I don't need permission to reach out to the bride myself, but he's made it clear that now's not a good time, and I'm keen on not making the situation worse. I will probably reach out to the bride in a week or so to get some clarification myself. And yeah, that's what I'm worried about. It was really important for me that my boyfriend got along with my friend group, and they welcomed him with gracious open arms. I unfortunately did not get the same from his. And Opie responds to a comment about our priorities on the relationship and says, you may be right on that one, and it sucks to know that I prioritize or value our relationship higher than he does. Even though we're not married, I feel I go about our relationship with the same respect as if we were. That respect definitely doesn't feel reciprocated. Nah, this is red flags all over it for me. You know, your girlfriend of 8 months can't be in the same country during this friend's wedding weekend because of potential drama. And I sort of chuckled to myself when, he said if they were married, he'd back out of the wedding, like this magic word of marriage and the paperwork that goes behind it is where OP then becomes worth defending. And I agree with a couple of those comments that boyfriend's behavior is just sus. OP's not getting to talk to the bride in any way. I personally think she should just approach her herself and ask the question. Her boyfriend seems to be gatekeeping all this, stopping her from doing so and saying, no, you shouldn't do that because you're going to cause more drama for her. Kind of feels to me like he's feeding both sides different stories to get his own way, whatever that way is. Maybe he's been complaining about her to his friends, or there's someone else in that friend group he wants to spend time with. I know it's all theories, right? And frustratingly, we haven't got the full ending to it, but I certainly wouldn't be putting up with that nonsense. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Let's move on to another story. Now, our next story comes from As Your Doctor, and just a trigger warning before we get into it, it does contain sexual harassment and obsessive behavior as well, so if you do want to skip it, please feel free to do so. Timestamps are always down in the description and along the timeline below. Thank you. And it's titled, Crazy Coworker 26 female is texting me 24 male, telling me how much she is interested in me, trying to schedule to meet me after work, even though she knows I'm married and totally not interested. First of all, sorry, English is not my first language, So it is as the title says. We work at the same office. She sits on the desk across from mine and is married as well as I am. And recently we've been talking more with each other, but nothing out of the ordinary. I have a good relationship with pretty much everyone here, except for Carl. Fuck you, Carl. And your credit stealing habits. Oh geez, just cheap chat about regular stuff. How was the weekend? Look at this funny video. What do you think about this, that, etc. Then she started texting telling me she was surprised about how easy it is to talk to me and how she enjoys how the conversation just flows. And I was cool, me too, you're nice. Last week I left my car at the auto repair since the brakes started to make a funny noise, and since she lives 2 blocks away from where I live, I asked for a ride home. We're in traffic going home talking about regular stuff. Then she brings the subject again about how nice our conversations have been, and I agree. I have plenty of female friends, and so this is not uncommon for me. And she starts talking about how interesting it is that we have some different opinions about stuff, but we get along well anyways, and yeah, sure. Then I noticed things got fucking weird. She then starts looking at me differently, and then she's attracted by me and put her hand on my thigh. I thanked her and told her she's nice and good looking, but we're just colleagues. We're both married. I respect her, but I'm not interested, so no way anything is going to happen. The rest of the ride was an awkward silence. When I got home, she kept texting me about how we're getting along so well and stuff, how she is not in the best moment in her marriage, etc. Then I received a lot of Instagram notifications of her mass liking my photos. I replied to the text trying not to be rude, saying that maybe she should use her energy and time to resolve the problem she is having at home instead of this. At this point, I think she is crazy, and the best way to avoid problems is just to dismiss the crazy shit she is saying and keep it cool and distant, since we work together in a 55 people company. She says it's not just a physical attraction, and that she's jealous and can't stand to see my wife's post on Instagrams with me. Red alert. And now she wants to meet me after work during the lunch break out of the office to talk about things. I haven't told any of this to my wife yet, and I was not planning to do so, since she is way too stressed out recently with her job and some problems with her parents. So I'd like to know from the almighty and all-knowing Reddit how to avoid this crazy lady getting more crazy and try to cause problems at work and with my marriage. Wives of Reddit, if you were my wife, would you like me to tell you what's happening or just deal with it? My plan so far is to let her know again that I'm not interested, just play it cool and dismiss what she is saying, slowly decreasing the number of interactions we have until everything fades into a regular co-worker stuff. For me in this, I'm just looking at this post thinking every minute you're not telling your wife is a moment that your relationship could be destroyed by this person, this co-worker, telling your wife for you. But Sandman says to the OP, you need to tell 2 people. 1, your wife. 2, human resources. Show them the text, including your request and that she stopped contacting you / hitting on you. You need to tell your wife and HR because this could easily spiral out of control, and you need to be on top of the story. Also, you gotta trust your wife, man. Then stop talking to this coworker about anything that isn't directly work related. So it was 2 weeks after this that OP came in with an update and said sorry it took so long to update you. First of all, thanks for all the advice. Since it was the first time this happened to me in such a blunt way, I tried to handle it the best I could. I was also kinda lost about what to do. So thanks again, your advice has really helped me. Following your advice, I got home yesterday, asked my wife to sit down and told her what was going on. I showed her all the messages and explained to her in details what happened. She was really concerned. Didn't get mad or anything, she was just worried that, using her words, that bitch would ruin your career and stress you out. So I told her I would talk to my boss and the HR the next day, and so I did. I arrived earlier, scheduled the meeting with HR and my boss. He went pale when I told him I'd like to talk with him and HR together. Later he said he thought I would quit. I sat down with them, asked them to be prepared for a Mexican soap opera, and showed them all the messages and explained to them all that happened. I told them I'd like her to be moved to another desk and that I trusted them to discipline her so she would stop harassing me. They listened very quietly, nodding between the sentences and doing quick questions when in doubt. After I finished telling my tale, they said they would call her in to talk and address the subject, and that I could rest assured they would take all reasonable measures. I went back to my desk, got to work, I was going on a business trip to Mexico City for the following week, so I'm pretty busy. Then I heard the BSCC phone, short for batshit crazy coworker, ring. She looked at me with suspicion in her eyes when she got up and went to talk to HR. I tried to avoid eye contact and didn't express anything. 1 hour later, she comes back crying, gets her purse and leaves. Everybody in the office was, "What the fuck just happened?" My boss then came to call me in his office and told me what happened. They told her I told them what was going on. Then she made a whole dramatic shit show, telling she was in love with me and was fighting for what she thought was right, etc. My boss and the HR person dismissed her silly arguments and told her she would need to keep things professional and move to another desk. Otherwise, they would have to rescind the work contract. And she preferred to get fired. So from now on, she no longer works with me. It's been 2 weeks and so far nothing related to the subject happened. So I guess my life is back the way I like it. Just peace and quiet. So thanks again for all the advices. I think my thoughts were kind of clouded by this shit. You guys made me think clearly. So thanks. Commenter quotes OP saying, they told her what was going on and made a dramatic shit show, and then says, "Wow, this woman is mentally ill. No joke. She's completely detached from reality if she's pulling shit like this when facing both her boss and HR. That is unhinged. Keep a sharp eye out, OP. She knows where you live and she's no longer constrained by the prospect of losing her job. Don't hesitate to call the police if she shows up." Commenter says to OP, this. OP, if possible, have your boss and HR give you something in writing about what happened in case you need it for documentation purposes with the authorities. You might also want to write out your own quick log of everything that happened while it's still fresh in your mind. Check into what legal options might be just in case. I know it sounds like overkill, but trust me, you don't want to let your guard down just yet. This woman is potentially dangerous. Backseat Adventurer says, I agree with all this. I would just add that the message, etc. she left should be kept too. Better not to need them than to regret trashing them. I hope he says, guys, thanks for this. I've been a little naive believing this would stop now. Following your comments here, I wrote my logs, made a backup call of all the messages and requested the HR for a formal letter explaining what happened. I was considering going to a police station and check what I could to get this registered in case anything happens. But I don't think this is necessary with all the other measures I took. Other commenter says, my question is, was she always this crazy, or are you that good looking and charming that you drove her insane that she couldn't have you? Sue replies saying, I must admit, he does sound completely adorable and charming. No wonder she fell for him. Opie says, I've been working with her for 2 years, but we never talked much before this happened, so I cannot claim anything for sure. But before all this drama, she didn't let no craziness show up. Now about myself, you're making me feel embarrassed. I'm not that self-aware. Another commenter says, maybe bipolar or manic episode. Just speculating, but it is weird it took her 2 years. Seems like it escalated quickly once she set her sights on you. Opie says, well, I'm also known for not being very perceptive, and I never paid much attention to her. So it can be my fault at this point. Opie then edits and saying, just got a call from her husband. Apparently she was crying all weekend and told him on Monday why she was fired. He told her he didn't buy her version of the facts, since she contradicted herself in several points of her story. He told her call the company to clarify what happened, and now was just calling me to make sure. I told him everything and offered to show him the messages. We're going to meet in an hour for a coffee next to the office. He sounded hurt but very clear-minded. Just told my boss, HR and my wife that I'm going to meet him. My boss offered to go with me. Man, I'm surrounded by good people. Another edit says, just came back from meeting with her husband. It was all very quickly. I arrived with my boss. He was waiting for me. I just showed him the messages in my phone, answered some questions about what happened, and that was it. He said he just wanted to be sure, because she deleted all of her messages. He said this was not the first time something like that happened, and apologized for everything. He said she was seeing a psychologist in the past, but she had stopped going recently. I just said that I didn't want nothing to do with it, that I came to meet him just to make it clear I didn't want any of this to happen, wished him the best and left. He just nodded and apologized again as I left. I'm surprised with his reaction. Maybe he doesn't seem angry because they passed through something similar before. I don't know, I really don't care. I've just had enough drama. I'm glad this wasn't another one. So, let's just hope this is the end. Thank you for your support. Holy moly, I'm glad that OP did take Reddit's advice in the end and documented all this as well. But wow, I wonder what that husband is going through. I wonder what they're up to today. Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And just a huge thank you for being here today, getting involved in the stories, your love, your support, your time. It always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much for being here. Truly, it is absolutely amazing. And hopefully, I'll see you in the next one. Take care and much love.